Hello again everybody, and welcome to the first in a series of first impressions videos for the Oculus Rift CV1 in DCS World. Now my Oculus Rift showed up on the doorstep today. I've taken an hour or so to get everything set up, and now it's time to put it into action in DCS World and see how things work. And rather than start off with one of the deep dive type videos that I've done in the past for the Oculus Rift DK2 development version, for now I'm just going to fly a series of instant action missions, actually employing some aircraft against targets, and make it more about the experience of using the hardware in its current form, and not just be me giving a broad overview with footage running in the background. And I do this partly because I haven't had enough time with the current hardware to have an informed discussion on it, and partly because the interface for the Oculus Rift is still very much in flux. And I'm going to be using DCS World 2.0 that has some of the new Oculus Rift features included, including a laser pointer feature that we're going to see as I get into the aircraft, a new main menu, and some different interface features in the cockpit itself that I'll get into detail on, well, as we go through this series. Now additionally, for this segment, I'm going to use the onboard microphone that's included with the Oculus Rift to record the audio just as an experiment. And I'm also using the built-in headphones, which are definitely not as good as the headphones that I normally use, but are good enough that I just haven't really been motivated to remove them and go with my own headphones. It might just be a convenience factor that makes me use the onboard audio, depending on how things shape up as I start to get more experience with the hardware and start to do some more direct comparisons. But lest I start to get long-winded here, let me go ahead and get into the cockpit and start to employ the aircraft. That's what I want to make this first impression series about, so I'll see you in the cockpit. And we'll start here in the cockpit. I'm not going to go through the mission briefing. We're going to get a rundown once I unpause it of what we can expect and what we're supposed to do here, but first impressions are compared to the Oculus Rift DK2, and I'll try not to make too many direct comparisons between the development version and the consumer version, because if you haven't used either of them, anything that I could say comparing the two would be meaningless. But suffice to say that this is just leaps and bounds beyond the DK2 when it comes to resolution. And whether or not this is enough resolution to be able to execute missions, well, that's sort of what I'm here to find out. So let's go ahead and unpause and take the briefing.
A mixed company of T-55 tanks and BMP-1 IFVs are moving from west to east along the road through Trailer Pass. The company has a CFU-23-4 and an SA-9 attached. The company is marked with red smoke. Destroy the company before it can exit the pass.
Okay, gotcha. So vehicles and air defenses coming through the pass right there. I've got the red smoke inside. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 vehicles down there, including some air defense units. I can't ID anything from this far out, but then again, I can't really ID anything from this far out in a 2D screen either. So I'm going to back off a little bit and just sort of keep that area in view. How far away am I from it now? 2.7 miles. And for the purposes of these first few videos, I have the model enlargement set to the large setting. So I'll evaluate that, and if I think it's a little bit too much and this is a little bit too easy, I'll back off to some lower settings. I have it set to small for missions that I fly just with a 2D screen as 2 is out there dropping flare. Okay, so let me go ahead and get things set up here. Let me go to the Mavericks and have it set up. Actually, I need to select one of my Maverick profiles. Let me go for I have 1865H's out there on the left wing. Let me go for those and see if I can identify some targets here. It's easier to ID targets in the Maverick display using the H's than the D's. Okay, so I just need to make a turn here. How far out am I? I am 8 miles. Okay, let me go ahead and roll it out right there. Okay, I stand corrected. 6.4. 6.5 now. And yeah, that's everything in the HUD is clearly visible. I can read all the numbers, but you know, in cases like that where you're trying to distinguish between a 6 and an 8, or numbers that sort of like look a little bit similar, I think that's really the only thing that I'm unable to do just at a glance. If you concentrate and just sort of look at it for more than just a glance, then everything is very, very readable in the HUD. With the exception of when you get things against a light background, like right now, I can't really resolve the numbers at the bottom right, but then again, that's something that happens with a 2D screen as well. Okay, target's clearly visible out there at, what am I at, 9.5 miles at this point. I might actually back off to the medium setting on the next mission. Okay, so let's go ahead and, with these HM65Hs called up, start to come in here and take out targets. Actually, before I do that, okay, let me level out. Let me go to UHF. Let me go to Wingman and have him navigation, anchor here, F1. And communications, incidentally, is the way they have it set up in DCS 2.0 right now with a newer interface, is that instead of the, as you look around, the text moving with you, it just sort of stays in place. You can, by looking at the text, you can make it out very, very clearly. It's no problem at all to read, although it is less readable, I suppose, than, for example, text in the HUD. Just, I think, due to the white and black, you get sort of a shimmer with that font they use or that color scheme they use. So it is a little harder to read than text in the HUD, but very, very readable and very, very usable. And keyboard, while I'm making first impressions here, okay, let me get to the keyboard and keyboard visibility here in a second. Let me start to come in here. I'll take out, I see one vehicle sort of in between groups of three. I'll slew over, ground stabilize, I'll go narrow. That looks an awful lot like an SA9 vehicle with sort of a chassis with a, let me just slew it using the HUD now, chassis with sort of like a launcher on top, it looked like. Okay, why am I not able to get this thing to slew? Okay, there we go. I'll take that shot. That was a little closer than I wanted to get, 2.5 miles, but that's fine. Whatever that is, it's about to go down. I'll just come off to the left and watch this one go in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I see what might be another air defense unit. That's a hit on that target that I was just on. In front of the last group of 3 vehicles, I might actually see one more coming over the pass right now. That might have just been a blemish out there on the road. Yeah, I think it was actually. Okay, so let me go for one more of these targets with an AGM-65. And yeah, I was saying with the keyboard, you know, interacting with the communications menu, I have a slit down at the bottom of my nose, and it's present in the DK2, or was present in the DK2, but it's larger in the CV1, so I'm just on the verge of saying that interacting with the keyboard or glancing down and looking at your HOTAS is a non-issue. It's still a little bit awkward. I mean, but I think with time, I mean, looking down there in that little slit right now, I'm looking at it's sort of like with my palm on the keyboard, it's a portion of the keyboard that's the same size as my palm, with my fingers just extended out, that I can see very clearly. So I think with time, keyboard interaction is going to be a non-issue, contrary to what you might otherwise hear. That's just what I'm seeing, at least. And with that larger slit, it is noticeably easier to breathe in this version, but yeah, that's enough of the DK2 versus CV1 type comparisons. Okay, let me center this Maverick back up. Right out there, ground stabilized, narrow. Okay, there's another one, little singleton that I want to hit out there. Maybe I need to tweak my settings when it comes to the slew controls, because yeah, I'm just having all sorts of trouble getting these Mavericks to do what I want them to do. Okay, there's a lock on the lead vehicle of a group of 3. I'm going to take a shot on it. I'm going to come off to the right. And that looks like a hit on that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more vehicles. And I've flown this instant action a couple of times before. I'm about to get a mission fail call from the guy. Yeah, there we go. And I'm obviously not going for speed or anything here, so I'm not worried about that. Okay, Dismiss. Okay, what else do I have here? Let me go with some Mark 82 airs. I never ever fly or use Mark 82 airs. Let me go to the profile, and I'll just go for
pull up.
Single, ripple single. Oh, I'm fine. Okay, go for 75-foot spacing. I'll hit save. Yeah, and everything that I need to read right there is readable. I can make out, and again, it's just a distinction between glancing and just sort of looking at it for a second, just to sort of figure out what you're looking at. But with the small text, I can clearly read what I need to read right there without even, I'm not even really leaning in any more than I would in a real aircraft if I'm working with an MFD or a CMDI or whatever it's called in whatever aircraft I was working back in the day. Yeah, I would lean in to look at it anyway, so it's the same sensation here. It's really nothing that out of the ordinary, and the visibility is fine. Okay, as I've got 2 in sight out there orbiting where I told him to hold. So what I'm going to do is come in here and sort of hope that I took out those air defense targets. Actually, let me do a little bit more here. Let me go to the targeting pod. Let me go to air to ground mode. I should be, okay, let me go to Mark Z. And this is one of those things that I hope really gets addressed when it comes to the interaction of with the cockpit with the laser pointer. Right now, the pointer and me interacting with the cockpit is sort of tied into where I look. I can't mouse the pointer around. So anything like in back of right there is absolutely impossible to get access to. So I'm just going to have to, okay, take that. Okay, Mark Z, let me slave my pod over to Mark Z. And we'll have a look in here. Yeah, I see a couple of air contacts out there. Let me go narrow. You see tanks. Okay, I have no trouble resolving what I'm looking at here in the pod. And I'm sort of leaning in, but nothing too ridiculous. This is just what I would normally do if I were, like I said, in a real aircraft looking at an MFD. So I think I didn't see any more air defenses right there. Yeah, that was definitely an SA-9. Yeah, that's an SA-9 burning right there. Let me just verify that I got the Zeus 23, which that was a Zeus 23. That frees me up to do any type of delivery I want on the rest of these guys. Okay, let me come down to low level. I'll do a pop-up attack rolling in to my left along that road. And one thing that, and I've been, flying with a VR headset for a while now, one thing that I constantly do, and it's just a matter of getting used to the, the 2D versus 3D experience, is that I always underestimate how far away I am, and always get a little bit too close and don't give myself time to really get lined up. So I think this will be about right. So I'm going to pop up. And, well, I think I overshot at that time a little bit. I'll fly straight a little bit longer. I wanted to time this so I was sort of in line with the road and in line with the targets. I'll go for this lead group. It should be good right here. This is going to be a CCIP delivery, so once I get it lined up, let me roll out. And once okay, I'm getting some ground fire. Okay, I took some hits right there. Actually, a lot more than I would normally do. And that's why I never... You notice I always get kind of called out in video comments for why I never roll in with a gun unless I can absolutely help it. That's it right there. That's why I never do it. Okay, damage to the right engine, damage to the right wing. Okay, engine, I'm a little bit low on fan speed, way low on fan speed. I'm thinking about, okay, oil pressures are still fine. I'm thinking about turning off or securing the right engine. But I'll take it as is. Okay, so, well, let me go ahead and call this instant action good here. I will disengage at this point in either case. And I'll move on to another aircraft and get into some more first impressions of the Oculus Rift. So, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.